Nancy Pelosi is one of the most powerful and controversial figures in modern American politics. Nancy Pelosi was born on March 26, 1940, in Baltimore. Her full name was Nancy Patricia D'Alessandro. Politics surrounded her from childhood. Her father, Thomas D'Alessandro, was deeply involved in Democratic politics. He served as a congressman and later became mayor of Baltimore. Her brother, Thomas D'Alessandro III, also entered politics. So for Nancy, politics was not something distant. It was everyday life. She grew up watching deals, campaigns, meetings, and political conversations at home. She saw how power worked, how alliances formed, how decisions were made. And she learned early that politics was not only about speeches. It was about relationships. That lesson stayed with her forever. Nancy learned politics long before she held office. As a child, she helped her father with campaign work. She answered phones, organized events, met voters. She watched him build loyalty through personal connections. He remembered names. He helped people solve problems. Nancy observed everything. Without realizing it, she was already training for leadership. She learned how influence really works. Not through slogans alone, but through trust and organization. Then came education and a bigger world. Nancy attended Trinity College in Washington. Studying in Washington brought her even closer to national politics. She was ambitious and highly disciplined. Friends noticed her intelligence and strong work ethic. But unlike many future politicians, Nancy did not rush into public office. Life took another path first. She met Paul Pelosi. They married in 1963. Soon, Nancy became a wife and mother. And family became her priority. She and Paul moved to San Francisco, where they built their life together. They had 5 children. 5. That alone required incredible energy and organization. And Pelosi later joked that raising 5 children helped prepare her for Congress. Many people laughed. But there was truth in that joke. Managing a large household requires planning, negotiation, patience, and discipline, all skills useful in politics. But Nancy's political story was far from over. Even while raising children, she stayed involved in Democratic politics behind the scenes. She organized fundraisers, built networks, supported campaigns. She became known as someone who could get things done efficiently, quietly, successfully. People noticed. She was not yet a public star. But inside party circles, her reputation grew. Nancy Pelosi was becoming a political force. And soon, she would step out from behind the scenes and into Congress itself. By the 1980s, Nancy Pelosi had built an impressive reputation inside Democratic political circles in San Francisco. She was no longer just a volunteer or fundraiser. She had become a serious political operator. People trusted her because she delivered results. She could organize, raise money, build alliances, and most importantly win. That made party leaders pay attention. Then an unexpected opportunity changed everything. In 1987, a congressional seat in San Francisco became vacant. For Nancy, this was the moment. She decided to run for Congress. At the time, she was in her late 40s. Older than many first-time candidates. Some underestimated her. They saw a wealthy political insider. A mother of 5. Someone who had worked behind the scenes. But they misunderstood something important. Nancy Pelosi had spent decades learning how power actually worked. She knew politics inside and out. And when she entered the race, she was ready. She won. Nancy Pelosi officially became a member of the United States House of Representatives. Her Washington career had truly begun. Pelosi quickly proved she was different. Many new members of Congress spent years trying to gain influence. Pelosi moved faster. Much faster. She worked relentlessly. She studied every vote. She learned every relationship. She understood both policy and strategy. She was disciplined in a way that impressed even veteran lawmakers. And she had something unusual: patience mixed with ambition. She knew when to push, when to wait, when to negotiate. That combination made her dangerous in a political sense. Opponents learned quickly: underestimate Nancy Pelosi at your own risk. Her influence kept growing. During the 1990s, Pelosi rose steadily inside the Democratic Party. She became known as a strong advocate for healthcare, labor rights, women's rights, social programs, Democratic Party unity. She also became one of the party's strongest fundraisers. This mattered enormously. In modern politics, fundraising equals influence. Candidates needed money. Campaigns needed money. The party needed money. Pelosi helped deliver all of it. That gave her leverage. A lot of leverage. People began seeing her as more than a representative from California. She was becoming a national power broker. Then came the leadership ladder. Pelosi moved through House leadership step by step. Whip. Leader. Strategist. Each role gave her more influence. By the early 2000s, she had become one of the most powerful Democrats in Congress. And in 2003, history was made. Nancy Pelosi became House Democratic leader, the first woman in U.S. history to lead a major political party in Congress. That alone was historic. But Pelosi wasn't finished. Not even close. She wanted more than symbolism. She wanted power to pass legislation. Power to control the House agenda. Power to shape national policy. And soon, that power would come. Because after the 2006 midterm elections, Democrats won control of the House. That victory changed everything. It meant one thing: Nancy Pelosi was about to become the most powerful woman in congressional history. The Speaker's gavel was waiting. In 2007, history was made. Nancy Pelosi became the first woman ever elected Speaker of the United States House of Representatives. It was a moment that changed American political history. For more than 200 years, no woman had held that position. Now Nancy Pelosi stood second in the presidential line of succession behind only the president and vice president. That was extraordinary. But Pelosi understood something important. Breaking history was only the beginning. Real power came from what she did next. The new Speaker wasted no time. Pelosi quickly became known for strict discipline and strategic leadership. She ran the House with precision. Every vote mattered. Every alliance mattered. Every negotiation mattered. And Pelosi tracked everything. She knew where members stood on major bills. She knew who needed convincing. She knew who could switch sides. This made her incredibly effective. Many colleagues, even opponents, admitted something privately: Nancy Pelosi was exceptionally good at her job. Then came one of the biggest political battles of her career. In 2008, Barack Obama won the presidency. Democrats controlled both the White House and Congress. This created an opportunity for major reform. One issue became central: healthcare. For decades, many Democrats had wanted broader healthcare access in America. Now they had a chance. But passing healthcare reform would be extremely difficult. The legislation became what Americans know today as Obamacare, officially the Affordable Care Act. The bill was controversial from the beginning. Supporters said it would help millions gain health insurance. Critics said it expanded government power too much. The political battle became intense. Very intense. Republicans fought hard against the bill. Town halls turned chaotic. Media coverage exploded. Pressure inside Congress was enormous. Some Democrats were nervous too. Not everyone agreed. This is where Pelosi became crucial. She worked relentlessly behind the scenes. Meeting lawmakers. Negotiating terms. Counting votes. Securing support. Vote by vote. She built the coalition. Then in 2010, the bill passed. It became one of the most significant domestic policy victories of the Obama era. And Pelosi had been essential to making it happen. But with power came backlash. As Pelosi became more visible nationally, she also became more polarizing. Supporters admired her toughness. They saw intelligence, discipline, experience. To them, she was one of the strongest legislative leaders in modern American history. But critics saw something very different. To many conservatives, Pelosi became the face of liberal Washington politics. They viewed her as too powerful, too partisan, too aggressive. She became a frequent target in conservative media. Her name alone triggered strong reactions. People rarely felt neutral about Nancy Pelosi. They either respected her greatly or strongly opposed her. That level of polarization made her one of America's most recognized political figures. And Pelosi never backed down. One thing defined her career more than almost anything else: she did not scare easily. Whether facing political attacks, media pressure, or fierce opposition, Pelosi stayed calm and strategic. She rarely showed emotional weakness in public. Criticism did not make her retreat. If anything, it often made her more determined. That mindset helped her survive in one of the harshest political environments in America. By the 2010s, Nancy Pelosi was no longer just a congressional leader. She had become a political institution, a symbol of power, strategy, and modern partisan politics. And her biggest battles were still ahead, including direct clashes with Donald Trump. When Donald Trump won the 2016 election, American politics entered one of its most turbulent periods in decades. And once again, Nancy Pelosi found herself at the center of the storm. The relationship between Pelosi and Trump quickly became one of the most famous political rivalries in modern U.S. history. They represented opposite political worlds. Trump brought aggressive, unconventional populism. Pelosi represented disciplined, institutional democratic leadership. Their clashes became national headlines. Again and again. One image captured the rivalry perfectly. In 2019, after Democrats regained control of the United States House of Representatives, Pelosi became Speaker again. Now she had enormous power to challenge Trump. During a tense White House meeting, cameras captured Pelosi standing with her finger pointed toward Trump while he remained seated. The photo went viral. To supporters, it symbolized strength and fearlessness. To critics, it symbolized confrontation and division. Either way, the image became iconic. It represented something unmistakable. Nancy Pelosi was one of the few political leaders willing to confront Trump directly. Then came impeachment. In 2019, Pelosi faced one of the most difficult decisions of her career. Should the House begin impeachment proceedings against the president? This was historic territory. Impeachment is one of the most serious constitutional actions Congress can take. Pelosi initially moved cautiously. She understood the political risks. But after investigations into Trump's dealings with Ukraine, she moved forward. The House voted to impeach Trump. He became only the third U.S. president in history to be impeached. Then history repeated itself. After the events of January 2021, Pelosi led a second impeachment effort. Trump became the first president ever impeached twice. This cemented Pelosi's role as one of the central figures of the Trump era. Then came one of the darkest days in modern American democracy. January 6, 2021. The January 6 United States Capitol attack shocked the world. A violent mob stormed the United States Capitol while Congress was certifying the presidential election. Chaos erupted. Lawmakers were evacuated. Security forces rushed to respond. The nation watched in disbelief. Pelosi was one of the primary targets of the attackers' anger. This was no longer ordinary political conflict. It was a direct attack on American democratic institutions. The event deeply affected Pelosi. She later described the day as traumatic and historic. For her, January 6 represented something dangerous: the fragility of democracy itself. Yet even after decades in power, Pelosi's story remained divisive. Supporters see her as one of the most effective legislative leaders in modern history. They point to the Affordable Care Act, major Democratic legislative victories, breaking barriers for women in politics, her strategic leadership under pressure. Critics see something else. They view her as a symbol of hyper-partisan Washington. A political insider who represented establishment power. That divide defines much of her legacy. But even her critics rarely deny one thing. She was powerful. Extremely powerful. And remarkably effective. Nancy Pelosi changed the meaning of leadership in Congress. She shattered one of the highest political glass ceilings in America. She proved that power in Washington is not always loud or emotional. Sometimes power looks like discipline, strategy, patience, and knowing exactly when to move. Whether admired or criticized, Pelosi became one of the most consequential political figures of her generation. And history will likely remember her as exactly what many called her for decades: the most powerful woman in Congress.